Welcome to Jill's Sandwich Shop, where everything served is related.
Hello, everyone. We have a few special guests today. You guys want to jump in and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Houdi-n-i. I'm kind of still slightly new to Resident Evil, but not too new. I played 7, the remake of 2 and 3, and I've seen a good amount of snippets of 6. So, I am familiar with it.
So your favorite games are the remakes, huh? You like those?
Yeah, whatever you want to judge me, go ahead. I don't care.
No, the remakes were okay. They didn't do justice to old games, but they were good games for what they were. I'll give them that.
All right, fair enough.
How about you, Umbrella? You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Umbrella Gibson, Paul from the UK. Basically, I played Resident Evil since the first console was a PlayStation 1, so I watched my dad play the first one when I was 3 or 4 years old.
Same.
I've just been attached to it ever since. As I said, for years, I just used to play them even without completing them because I was too young to understand stuff. But yeah, I just used to play them, and then I played every one up and since then, and now took it up for streaming as well now, so I stream them on Twitch as well, and yeah, that's it really. Like I said, just every Resident Evil game, even the ones that people say are bad, I still find ways to enjoy them.
Oh,
there's got to be. I mean, sometimes it hurts, but yeah, every Resident Evil game, they're good games for what they are. Sometimes they just hurt to be Resident Evil titles.
Sometimes when a new one releases and I enjoy it, and then I see all the reviews online, and it gets quite angry because people nitpick things all the time. Not just Resident Evil games, horror games as well. You know what I mean? It's like Last of Us 2. Loved that game when it came out, and then everyone jumped all over it before it was even out properly, and things like that just really bothered me.
True. How about yourself, Dan? You want to introduce yourself really quick?
Yeah, so I'm Dan, also known as Circus Dan. I'm on Instagram as Circus Dan1 and YouTube as Dan Comp 80. I'm a Resident Evil fan. I wouldn't call myself a huge fan. Maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I would have been considered a huge fan. I'm like my friend here. I go all the way back to PlayStation. My favorite was probably, I think it was Resident Evil 4, and I played it on the GameCube. That was a good time. I've probably played 90% of all the Resident Evil games, but I couldn't tell you the names of them. Just kind of lost track of everything. Just kind of play them when they come out, and keep moving. Wait for the next one.
That's fair. Yeah. There's some titles I forget were even out at times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There was a few that were couch co-op that were really fun experiences. So
definitely. Well, it seems like everybody's got a fair amount of Resident Evil experience, and today our topic is Damnation, which SK will get into in just a second. But definitely, I think we need to set up another time to just have a full-on live podcast talk about all the Resident Evils we've experienced. But today, Damnation is the topic. Second CGI movie. Go ahead, SK, give us a little bit of a summary of what we'll be talking about today.
Yeah, so Damnation is personally my favorite CGI movie of all time, and it's my favorite out of the 3 ones, Resident Evil Degeneration and Vendetta. And it was released in October 27, 2012 as almost a market ploy for marketing Resident Evil 6, I believe. And it continues with Leon Kennedy sneaking into an Eastern Slavic country, Eastern European country. And poor guy was just, enjoying his vacation. He didn't get any breakfast that day.
No breakfast for Leon.
No breakfast. And lo and behold, he meets some zombies, some, bioorganic weapons. And also, there's a civil war, so it's just a bunch of bad luck for Leon.
Of course, civil war, zombies. What else?
Yeah. Oh, not much other than Ada, Hunnigan, a couple side characters.
Oh, the best of the side characters, though. The waifus, the always running away waifus, the hard to get ones. Those, the lickers, they're the waifus? Yeah, I don't know if I'd waifu a licker. I'd be a little scared.
I don't know, man. They look like good waifu material to me.
Are we having them in in a full wedding gown and everything? I mean, I guess they'd look okay with the wedding veil on.
They're gonna be in a maid outfit.
Maido outfit. Oh my god!
I think they're adorable.
I mean, you can see they've got big brains, so they got that thinking power. I mean, they'd be good financially, stable in a relationship, I guess. But
Yeah, but they're blind, so that's an issue.
Yeah, they won't be able to accept my true beauty. And they're a little rough around the edges, too.
Yeah, they just need to be trained a little bit.
They're pissed off all the time. Their body's inside out. Like all those nerves have to be exposed. They're like in excruciating pain all the time.
Slimy in the sheets and also still slimy on the streets.
I don't know what that means. They do have that tongue, though.
That tongue, though. Yeah, but you know that thing is full of little, like, razor blades, right? Like, their tongue is sharp as all hell. That's how they're able to, like, dagger people. They've got a bunch of, I can't remember if it's, like, little blade-like things or if they're, like, little pricklies, but they're basically just a bunch of stabbing materials on their tongue.
Hey, we don't judge.
Yeah.
You guys,
Some people are into what they're into.
Definitely a market for it.
Oh, my God. Where is this going to? We need to talk about this Miss Breakfast. No more wife.
Yeah, we went from introducing ourselves and introducing the topic of this movie to essentially tentacle hentai flickers.
Yeah, well, this podcast is saved for a different channel and site. This is no more on our YouTube.
All right, going back to the synopsis of the movie. So, after we get introduced to Leon, he is just running in. He gets a phone call from Houdi-n-i telling him she's ordering him to get out of there and not be involved with that. And Leon ignores that order, continues to be a dumbass, and just, does his own thing. So that's how the movie starts.
It is. So
yes.
Let's have you guys jump in a little bit. What were some of your guys' takeaways from the opening?
The opening was detailed. You've got the Slav Republic. It goes into detail about the civil war that's going on there, what's going on between U.S. and Russia. I think it was they took a little bit of the story out of like reality. I think under the Bush administration, we went over to the Middle East and found resources there and decided to stay there. So the story kind of went hand in hand with that.
True, I can see that.
Right, and then U.S. Russia, that's a good twist to it. So yeah, it was detailed going into it, maybe more detailed than I personally wanted to hear. I thought it was funny how it was really well written, their idea, and then right before it cuts into the movie, it introduces the liquors, but it doesn't go into any detail. It just says, and then the monsters came.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the writer just got tired and said, you know what? Yeah. Boom, monsters.
It's going all out. Yeah, I mean, that is one of the first enemies you see going into it as well. So
I think it's something they wanted to address with having the liquors in the film, like only because Degeneration, I don't know if they expected it to take off or not. So, but that was probably one of the main things that was missing. It's probably one of people's most favorite creatures within the game. So to start the film with that straight away, you're grabbing fans straight away with like the favorite creatures and whatnot. And the fact that they made them a lot bigger, a lot of them looked a lot more gruesome than what they're supposed to be. I mean, if you look at that
they're beefy in this film.
Yeah, it's like when you look at the liquors in Resident Evil 5, like with Chris. I don't know if it's Chris is absolutely huge or let's make the liquors look smaller, but they were kind of just like you could have loads of them, not be really interrogated by him. But whereas in this, you could just see one. It's kind of like the first Resident Evil film or the first time you see Resident Evil 2. They're actually quite intimidating by the size.
Yeah. It was more of them being small and fast, and the originals that did kind of make them terrifying. They seemed more agile, as to where this one, it kind of feels like you're getting hit by like a Jeep or something if it's coming at you. They were just beefy boys for sure.
Yeah, every time they went to claw someone, they just swipe once and their head just gone.
Yeah.
Like it's not just decapitation, just full-on smack, the head explodes. That's what it looked like.
A little bit, honestly. It was pretty brutal. There was some straight up like pulverization going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, going back to what Dan was saying about how they kind of introduced them right away, like the BOWs and the liquors. One of my biggest criticisms of this movie was the fact that they kind of jumped in right away. And I don't think it's like a good starting point for people who haven't seen any previous Resident Evil movie or haven't played the games, because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, what is this American agent doing here? Who is he? Like, what is going on here? You know what I mean?
I wonder if it was a response to G-Generation. You know, like it took too long to get started.
I think with these films, when they were made as well, I think they were made for the fans. You know, they'd seen how much of a mess Paul Anderson had made. You know, we still watched them, of course we did with Resident Evil fans, but when they made these, you know, they could have had no story at all and been pure action and we'd still watch it. You know, the fact that it was made like the games as well, you know, we was going to watch it. It was made for the fans. I don't think it was meant for a brand new audience. I think it was meant for the people that are Resident Evil through and through. Yeah,
it doesn't like beforehand. It doesn't really explain like the liquors or anything, and then it jumps right to Leon. And of course, if you don't know like anything about Resident Evil, if you just know like a little bit, you're like, what the hell is going on? And then you know it takes a bit for you to understand what's going on. But if you've been with Resident Evil for a while, you understand where Liquor is, you understand who Leon is, and a lot of other characters like Ada as well, who we'll get on to later.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's like one of the aspects that were better in Degeneration, that they kind of like gave an introduction, like, hey, Claire is, you know, Raccoon City survivor, as Leon mentioned when they first meet up with the senator and all that. For example, like, in the beginning scene of Degeneration, they talk about how, you know, she's working with TerraSave and she's meeting with these people and why she's there, blah, blah, blah. But in Damnation is like much more fast-paced.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting even looking at the weapons when it comes to Damnation, because it definitely even gives off more of a vibe from Resident Evil 6, with it being more action-packed. For example, you see in Degeneration, he's still kind of stuck with his handguns, you know? Everybody's still kind of in handgun mode. It's only these, like, special operatives that come in out of nowhere and pretty much get their asses handed to them that have the, you know, like, MP5s going on pretty much. So in this one, it's more leaning towards how 6 was, you know? I mean, he's in there with like bigger guns right off the bat, like he's going in with, you know, just strapped. So
also sets the scene as well, because the weapons that they're using are for that country, aren't they? You know, he's using the AK-74, I was using, you know, a smaller version of the AK-47, so it's kind of set in where they are as well, only using the weapons there. It's not as if he's gone in with probably his own weapons, coming from the US or whatnot. You know, it looks like he's kind of got in there and got in on the ground and picked up what he could.
So oops, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, a small detail as well, I think, that goes in hand is that he mentioned that Leon was picked up by his vacation, so they kind of just, you know, picked him up, threw him in there, like, okay, have fun. So it's like, oh, okay, let me just pick up this weapon and go for it, essentially.
Yeah.
And that small little detail and connection is probably really, really nice that they did that.
Dan, there's something you wanted to say?
Yes, I wanted to touch on that, on what you had brought up about the weapons, because this is something that stood out to me was, well, first I'll start with JD, right, that character. So he gets real excited about guns, and I guess that was the first flag that went up. But seeing the weapons and even the sounds that they made when he was changing out magazines and the motions he did while changing them out, somebody on that staff was well rehearsed with weaponry and artillery. It was very accurate, even down to the bullets. And the artillery, after the tank shot, it was a scene where the shell popped out of the side. Like, that's exactly what happens. And they took a second or two just to show that as a cool thing, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I feel like
it was impressive. It was impressive, yeah.
Definitely. Sorry, go ahead, Umbrella.
No, it's just that is right. I think that's what our producing directors have to really do with films now, isn't it? Like, you know, even with the first Resident Evil film, there was a very heavy military background, like behind that in training. They get professionals like in like ex-SEALs or whatnot to make sure that they're moving in the right direction and things like that. You know, they're actually making it look realistic. So I think that's applied to every film now. But like I said, you've spotted it, and as you can imagine, if they didn't get that right now, you know, it would pop out to a lot of people. It pop out to a lot of people now if they weren't using it. So I think it is kind of a standard now, especially with action films.
Definitely. SK, is there something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I think it's interesting about how, like, the director of Damnation is the same as the Degeneration one. I believe his name is Makoto Kamiya. I probably butchered his name, but he teamed up with a screenwriter as well from the last movie, Suga or whatever. I think that was his name. And it's interesting because in the previous movie it was all about like handguns, right? We didn't literally Leon was using a handgun till the end. Meanwhile, in Damnation, he used like an SMG or whatever that was, and then towards the end of the movie, he was using a rocket launcher, and then there was a tank, and it was just crazy weapons.
True. Yeah, he had that rocket he tried to pop off, and Tyrant's just like, nah, dude, I'm gonna launch that up. But
that was crazy.
Yeah, that was intense. So there's two things actually I want to get into that we noted before we get too far away from it, because I know we want to move into stuff further into the movie. But one of the big things I want to talk about, opening parking garage scene. So everything we see recently feels recycled. And I feel like this was another part that took a bit of recycling. It was cool because the opening parking garage, it feels like the Re2 parking garage. But how many times are we going to use a parking garage that looks exactly like it's the, RPD basement, parking garage, you know what I mean? And on top of that, they got that Hollywood moment in the beginning where it's like, oh, we're going to make it to where Leon almost gets killed, but because this guy that they show can control the liquors, that's the only reason Leon didn't die.
I would have rather have Leon died than have that idea of controlling the liquors. I think that's one of the main things that throws me off this film. Like I said, being able to control them just kind of threw it away for me. Like I said, out of the three films, like I said, I think this is really safe. I still enjoyed it. I still think it's a class film, but I think trying to control BOWs and using them to try and fight other wars, I just think using the actual monsters to try and be on your side, it's something that doesn't really sit well with me. So once I've seen that someone could control the liquors, it kind of put my opinion of the film down a bit.
Interesting. Okay. SK, what do you got to say to that?
So I just had a quick question about what the exact virus was. Was it the Las Plagas? Because I've actually read something. That. Yeah, I've read something online about how it is Las Plagas. So it's the same thing as what the Resident Evil 4 people were infected with.
They mentioned it in there, but you see it bust 6 though, 5 and 6. That bad boy busts open like those. It's different than the Plaga. So I think it has something to do with the evolution of it to what was going into 6. What the virus was in there, I think.
You don't really see the zombies walking, do you? They said that's what I think it is, Las Plagas, because even in the tunnel scenes when they're trying to get through the door, the zombies are, once they see them, they're running around the corners and things like that. So it's not so much as just undead zombies anymore. I think it is actually more Las Plagas.
Houdi-n-i, you got something to say to that?
Yeah, Leon mentioned it's Las Plaga. He mentioned it twice, I think. I don't think it was ever confirmed if it was or wasn't, but Leon mentioned that's what it's called.
I think Ada said it at one point as well.
It is. Because it might be a more refined version, but it's definitely the same virus. It's the same virus.
Okay.
I think there was a hint when Leon met first with Ada in the movie, and he asked her whether she released the Plaga, but he didn't say it as Las Plagas, but he said the Plaga. So you know what I mean? Maybe he just translated it into English.
I mean, we've seen so much in Resident Evil where, kind of where we are today, it's just because of everything evolving. They just keep evolving and evolving things. And, it's kind of, they relate it to genuine, bioscience and everything to, what do? You look at things in stages. You keep progressing things in stages. When, a vaccine or something doesn't work, you keep improving off the same things and you get different results. So, it's not that it's unlikely that they had Las Plagas, and then they took that and, messed with it more because they seen that it didn't work efficiently enough, since one emo-looking blonde-haired dude was able to go in there and shut down that whole op. So I think it's not unlikely that it's just an evolution of it. Umbrella, what do you got to say to that?
Do you like that the Plaga virus compared to TGC, Ouroboros? Do you think it's one of the better viruses, or do you think it's took it in a direction it shouldn't have gone?
I'll answer that, but you know what, SK, you go ahead and answer that first, because I know you're big on 4, and I just did a bit of talking, so let you go ahead first on that.
So I think so you're saying you're not a big fan of the Las Plagas?
No, I am a fan of it. Actually, it was a defining moment, that changed the series, because the enemies could do a lot more. But do you prefer that over, like I said, the original viruses like T and G virus?
So one thing I would say to that is, I mean, like, it's kind of like an out of world comparison, but like, for example, with musicians, are you going to listen to them over the span of 20 years if they're consistently making the same type of sound? You're going to get bored of it eventually. And I think that's what happened with Resident Evil too. If we stuck to that same exact style of infections and viruses and things like that, I think people wouldn't, they would lose interest eventually. Yeah. But I know a lot of people hated the direction that the game took after Resident Evil 4, but the good part, the positive, was it got people talking, and it gave Capcom, another perspective to continue the series. It didn't just have to be about zombies.
Yeah. Do you not think that people want the zombies back now?
Yeah.
Or would you say that is the way to go back now, back to zombies? Because I think they've tried it again, haven't they, with the molded things like that. They're always trying to think that just people want it to go back to the original now, but I think they just want scary things back.
Let me just say, me likey the zombies, okay? That's what Resident Evil is all about for me. I don't know, dude. I loved Resident Evil 4. It's a phenomenal game. It's one of my favorite just games in general. I love the game. The game is perfect. It's just beyond perfect. But I don't know. I love Resident Evil 4 for being Resident Evil 4, but it kind of upsets me that that's where everything started to spin off. I get that things needed to change, but I'll comment on that in a second. I see SK's got her hand raised for something, so I want to get to her before she forgets. I know what I want to say, so
yeah.
Go ahead, SK.
I was just going to mention the fact that the whole Las Plagas situation, we don't really have that much information on it. And that's why there was a lot of speculation about the remake and the story expansions and what we were going to get with that, and people were talking about, well, we might get some Luis Serra expansion where he came from, why he was exactly there, who he was working with, and then also the story about where did Sadler come from, who created this virus, and all these little details. How did Dr. Salvador, you know what I mean, how did he turn into that? So there's a lot of mystery surrounding the Las Plagas.
That's definitely true. I feel like we didn't learn everything about Las Plagas that we could have. I feel like that's maybe something that on the remake they could expand a little bit more on. We do know that Wesker had something to do with it just because of Ada's story, so we find out a little bit about that in separate ways. But yeah, there could have been more. So basically what I wanted to say for it is I do like Resident Evil 4. They say that they're going for efficient bioweapon, something that can be controlled. That is the point, is to make something you can control that is insanely monstrous and difficult to beat. But at the same time, it's just I don't know, that it getting to that point or approaching that point is what made it lame to me. Fighting mindless zombies was terrifying to me. Fighting a monster with a sniper rifle that has a head that can eat me, I'm just what am I looking at right now? Why is this Resident Evil? It's fun as a game. I just stopped enjoying it when I was looking forward to a Resident Evil, and that's what I was playing. I love all the games, just not as Resident Evil.
This doesn't directly relate to what you were saying, but I think another hint of why it was Las Plagas and Damnation is because how the head would pop out and it would be tentacles, and that's the same exact thing that we had with the Las Plagas in RE4. But just as a side note.
We did, but they had that thing with the mouth that popped open. So I think it was a midpoint between Las Plagas and what we experience in 5 and 6, because it has that head thing. But they weren't really using weapons, so that would have to be before 6 progression. So it's got to be somewhere between Las Plagas and how 5 was interacting.
Yeah, I mean, Ada did describe it as a defective product when Leon asked her if she was the one that released it.
So this was actually a moment we all kind of agreed on from what we were talking about when we got to watch this with Houdi-n-i. So let's talk with this about, or let's talk about this with Dan and Umbrella, what they think. So when we were watching the movie the other day, we kind of agreed that we weren't the biggest fans of the scene where it just shows the BOWs kind of attacking that random soldier. For me, I just thought it was unnecessary. The people didn't relate to anything. It was more of like just a scene to show you what was going on. But because I dislike the enemies, I'm also just kind of salty about the scene because I just think it's lame. I dislike them. What are your guys' feelings on that? Dan or Umbrella, whichever one of you guys wants to go first on it.
I would say you've basically hit the nail on the head there. I mean, like, just when you look at that scene as well, it's just kind of, like you say, it seems a bit, I'd say not so pointless. Like, they've just put it there just to say, oh yeah, like this enemy, here's a reference to a game, but that's it. Like, it's just said, oh, look what we did. Like, look, we're going back to the games. Like, look, we're showing you something from a game in a film, and then like that's it. Yeah, that's all they have about it. Like, they don't really expand on it.
You never see them again.
and it really wound me up when because I was watching it before, and you know, he falls over and he's just crawling away, and just like he had so many opportunities to just get up and actually move a lot quicker than what he was doing. It's like he wanted to be implanted, and it's just
the damsel in distress tripping in the woods, running away.
So, oh dear, like
Myers.
Leon, I can see you in the corner of my eye. Please save me. It's just like, now this is the time, and you just don't step in, just like watch him from around the corner. Yeah, it's like you deserve to die for just lying on the floor.
Dan, what do you think about it?
I think that last part. It's so funny. It's so true. Like, get up, dude.
Right.
You know, you're a soldier. Like, and he's just. It's like one of those dreams where you're trying to run, but you just can't. You know, like
you got 50-pound weights on your legs.
Like, yeah. So,
oh my God,
yeah, the scene. I agree with you. Like the scene, it felt like to me. Felt like they were starting this path, right? Something was going to go down. The story was going to go down this path, and then it just got shut down. Like, it was kind of. Showed like the zombies have some kind of collective intelligence, and then they step aside. They specifically allow this little girl to come into it.
I thought she was going to be part of the story.
That. Yes, exactly. And then they infect him, and then you see this gruesome scene, and then it's like, okay, moving on. Like, just kind of like, what?
Just establishing, like, it's like they're trying to just establish what point in this film is it in the game's timeline. Like, so that they show you that scene with the attacking the soldier, and then you've got even the part with Ada saying, no, from the BSAA. No, nothing else comes of that. But in the game timeline, when there's a BSAA, you're thinking, right, it's between 5, or just after 4 with the whole Revelations type of thing. So I think they're just trying to establish, give fans an idea where would be in the game's timeline.
Yeah, I think it was on a similar timeline as 5, because I mean they can be during similar times because it's Leon and totally separate from Chris. I've seen some official timelines, and I think it's technically after 5, but I know like there's some debates on it, so I don't want to say for sure. But from my guess, from how it looks, I would say it's like just after, or I would say just before 5, honestly, because they're not weaponized yet. They didn't look weaponized, at least. They weren't shooting at people or like, I don't know, throwing anything.
Was it what Leon was doing whilst Revelations was going on with Chris and Jill? While they were on the cruise ship going with the BSAA, is that what Leon was doing at that time?
It could be.
So it's kind of like on the same, like at the same time as that.
You know what? You guys go ahead and talk about some stuff. I'm going to look this up. I'm going to look up the official timeline. So you guys go ahead and pick another topic, and I'll jump back on it.
Actually, I just looked it up, and
there you go.
as far as I can see, so in Resident Evil timeline year, it was between 2010 and 2011. So that would put us, because Resident Evil 5 took place in 2009, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or was that when it was released?
Well, that's the thing. I know that they were trying to keep Resident Evil pretty relative to real life timeline. So
okay, if that's the case, then Resident Evil 5 and Revelations 2 happened before Damnation, and then because we know, let's see here, Resident Evil 6 happened in 2012, so it was between Re 5, Revelations 2, and Re 6 in that timeline.
Is there a timeline? of Resident Evil, start to finish, including movies and video games. And is there a stream of that?
There's so many adaptations of it in it. So you can go on YouTube and you can see, multiple timelines that people have made where they think is the right story to every little detail. It changes all the time.
Oh yeah, it's also like, even though there's a lot of speculation in it, of course, it's also kind of still opinionated a little bit.
Yeah.
Depending on who's made it. Like there's some, like, unless there's like full, like, they say it out loud, this is the order, you're never gonna like really know like the order 100%.
Maybe that's what they're trying to establish with like the remake timeline.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing is in the beginning, because typically they're like, back in 1994, a virus was released in the mountains of Arclay, whatever, like stuff like that. So I mean, that's kind of like the timeline that I think they go with, is what they say in the beginning.
98,
Yeah.
come on.
Well, I'm just saying random shit.
No, I agree with you. I mean, like, one of the main reasons why they were remaking, they remade Re2 and Re3 just because they could, like, link it up a little better. I know they wanted to relate Re3 with Re4 remake-wise, because I don't, like, they were talking about something with Nemesis. Like, they're gonna have it, like, be a more smooth transition between the two games.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. I know we talked about it in one of the other ones about how it was huge that they mentioned in Re2 Re3 that Nemesis was the gift from the UK or whatever. So I'm curious, like, how they're going to tie that in better, because that did tie into something from Umbrella Chronicles, sort of, because they went to the European facility, Chris and Jill, so I'm curious if they're trying to find a way to tie that in better, but that's a little bit off topic from Damnation, so I won't get into that one. But yeah, I don't know, it's interesting, like, will these movies even still be relevant? I'm curious if they'll still tie it in with the new remake that is coming out, though.
Going to Damnation, like, what did you guys think of JD? Like, what did you think of him as a character?
Sorry, go ahead.
I made the joke when I was with SK and watching the movie and all. I thought, especially like when they're doing the open door scene, not to backtrack, but I made the joke of, we have Leon, who's a grown man, and then JD, who's an overgrown baby. That's what he looked and acted like. At the end, I felt like at the very end, right before he turned, I kind of felt some sympathy for him. But most of the time, I was slightly annoyed with him. Like, he was like one of those characters that was like, you wanna like, but you can't.
Yeah, he was a bit douchey to me at first, but he grew on me as it went, and you kind of see that, his personality is just, he wasn't cut out for the world he's in, and this is just kind of how he turned out about it, because he just wanted to have fun with his friends and hang out. I think that was one of the last things he said to Buddy, I think. So yeah, he grew on me.
He hates Americans, but he loves all American things. So it's like, where's it going with this?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, like, looking at it from, like, primarily a storyline, like, view, I would say JD was much better than Buddy, because Buddy is like, he's after revenge, right? He's a former teacher. He lost his, like, family and fiance, I believe, in, like, a previous civil war. And since then, he, took up arms against the government, and he's, willing to go to any length to get revenge on the president. And I feel like that's, like, such a generic thing to do, like that, like the whole revenge storyline. Whereas JD, sorry, he was, I don't know, I kind of like liked him right away, and I thought it was funny how he's fascinated with, like, American culture, and I don't know, I liked his, like, bromance with Leon in a way. I just wish they didn't kill him so fast.
Yeah, I can feel that. Umbrella, you got something to say?
Yeah, it's, when you're talking about Buddy, then when this film was first coming out, I remember seeing the trailer of it, and you're seeing, like, the glimpse of him, and people was wondering who it was going to be, and I had my heart so set on it being Art Thompson, because it looks like him. Like, I've really thought, maybe just, because it's a film for the fans, maybe they were going to throw a few extra characters in from the other games, throw Art Thompson in. All the people who's even saying it could have been Billy, but then when
no way.
Like, when the film come out, and it was just like, oh, he's not even linked to, like, Resident Evil. So I was a bit disappointed by that. I mean, I can't say much about his character. I think he's just kind of there.
I personally thought he was lame, honestly. I was not the biggest fan of him. Like, I just didn't like how he was just, I don't know, he was just ditzy. Like, my unfavorite opinion to SK on it is I like Ashley more than JD. So, just to get that out there.
I love Ashley.
But I know that you think
Oh.
JD is all right. You think JD is pretty cool. I have it highlighted for you to talk about your one favorite part in the movie with him, though.
Oh yeah, my favorite part of it. I mean, I don't know if it was like my absolute favorite, but one of my favorite moments was the handshake between JD and Leon. Dude, it was like boom boom, and then like Leon kind of like went back. That was so nice. I loved it. And then like
He was hyped
it's like
about it.
aha, you my man, and then he died like a couple seconds after that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the
Rough.
two guys from two different nations making friends in a war zone, like type of can be touching. Or like maybe
Yeah.
to some viewers,
Frenemies.
especially with it being Russia and America as well. You know, it's the whole thing of two of the biggest rivalries probably still to date.
Yeah.
And they're making friends in bad situations.
This is true. One of the things I want to mention, because it's around the time of that too, is the church itself. So we were mentioned earlier recycling. So there was the garage about that. For me, I think that the church that they're in almost looks exactly like the one in Resident Evil 6, but instead of the very inconvenient ladders to have to climb when you're trying to run away from all of the monsters, it has the stairs. SK says it reminded her of the Resident Evil 4 one where you snag Ashley from. What are your guys' thoughts on that? I kind of didn't like that it felt like they literally used the Re-6 one.
So for me, I thought like honestly, like the whole movie had Resident Evil 4 vibes, not just because of the Las Plagas and Ada and Leon, but even when Ada was fighting the president, that room, like we had the knife part where we can talk a little later about it too, because I know you have something to say about it, Taicho, like how it relates to the other fight in Re 4. But even that like room, it was like wooded, and like the furniture was like the same. Honestly, it was like the same exact furniture when Leon and Ada first meet in Re 4. Like that whole scene, it was like identical, and I loved it.
Yeah, I don't know how I felt about it. I wish it would have been something a little different. Umbrella, I seen that your hand was raised. Sorry, I didn't mean to pass over you. Did you have something you wanted to say on it?
No, it was just to say that it looked like the Resident Evil 6 church. I mean, I would say over Resident Evil 4, but when I was rewatching it, like as soon as I seen that bit in the church, I thought, oh, it's Resident Evil 6, and I was really hoping, because I couldn't remember the film properly, that a big mantelpiece was going to move and there'd be something underneath it. Like, just thought that would be definitely from Resident Evil 6, but it wasn't really an area they was in like for that much. But they seem to throw like the church scenes into quite a few other Resident Evils, like even in the Paul Anderson films when they did the church scene in Apocalypse with that. Like I said, they seem to do really well with them. I think it's just an eerie location in Resident Evil that really works. So to put it in, but maybe there wasn't enough time spent in it, maybe.
Got you. Yeah, I can feel that. That was the thing. It seemed like a very fleeting scene, but to use such a similar one, I feel like it's just an easy cop-out. Like, I just don't like the recycling because I feel like they're using it for the convenience of not having to make new areas. Like, I feel like they're doing it just to cut corners. Like, what game was found guilty of that? Wasn't it like Just Cause or something? Or was it either Just Cause or Uncharted or one of those games like that? They were caught like with literally just like remapping the same world. Like they were just taking it and shifting some of the zones so that they could keep the same structure or something.
A big game like that, I would say, is the Project Zero franchise. Recently, I've played 2 and 3 back to back, and literally the whole like estate that you're in the second one, they just recycled it all in the third one, but added a new story and like changed some of the areas around and made it a dream world instead. It still works, brilliant, but heavily recycled.
Yeah. What do you guys feel about that? Either Dan or Houdi-n-i, you guys want to say something?
Yeah, recycling is obviously, a turnoff. On the other hand, I do like when they kind of throw fans a little something that only, what do they call Easter eggs that only fans would pick up on. But the ones y'all are mentioning just seem too obvious and clearly recycled. So,
how about you, Houdi-n-i? What do you think?
Yeah,
I see you raise your hand.
Same thing kind of with Dan, where like I think recycling in games, movies, whatever is still kind of okay if it's like kind of like a hinting at like or if it's a reference. But when you use it so much, even if it's different parts. If you recycle like half of the movie or half of the areas in the game, it kind of loses its charm. And when you do, and if you're recycling purposely because you don't want to like do new areas, well then again, it's kind of it loses its charm of like you could have made something new. And so like it kind of it just throws a lot of people off, especially people like can clearly tell if something's recycled.
Yeah, it can get a little frustrating or confusing. Like if things look familiar, like trying to figure out if it is related or if it has to do with the same thing or not. So it's a little odd when stuff happens like that for sure. I know we don't have too much time left too, so I wanted to get into some other like big points that we have as well, because I'm curious what you guys think about them. One of the things that I had noticed was during the fight scene between Ada and the Russian president, there's actually a callback to Resident Evil 4 there. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Ada stops for a moment and she notices the knife and she goes for it. So that's actually a callback to the Resident Evil 4 fight scene with Leon and Ada, because after Leon disarms Ada, he says, you should use a knife. It's better for close quarters combat or something along those lines. And after that movie is made, the next time we see Ada, what is she doing? She ends up going for the knife that she sees to use it in close quarter combat. On top of that, she kind of fights like Leon's knife style there a little bit, if you notice. So it's I thought that was a pretty cool callback. What did you guys think about that moment?
I would say it was probably one of my favourite little throwbacks, like to the games in the film. Like that was one, like definitely straight away. No, I didn't have to think about it. Oh, is this from that game or whatever? It was literally like, yeah, Resident Evil 4 there straight away. But the fact, like in the Resident Evil 4 game, it was kind of, they did that little action, then they stopped and had a conversation. Whereas this was used and then went into a full like fight scene, which I thought it was used really well considering it was a throwback.
Right. There was that little like love connection, so it was a little more, while it was aggressive, it was more innocent between Leon and Ada, but she used a lesson from Leon to just go all out against a Russian president. How about that? I
mean, yeah, she kept telling that she has delayed her departure permanently or whatever, so Ada had to be a little more aggressive.
Mm-hmm. She just wanted to be around Leon longer. That's why she held off on leaving. We all know it. She can't turn her boy down.
Yeah. Another question I had was like when Leon and Ada first meet in the Damnation movie, and she's asking him whether he wants to like continue from where they left off that night. Do you guys have any like speculation about what she meant about when she said that?
I think they were getting down with it sometime, and she bailed.
Yeah,
or the wrong tree.
Or she took something from Leon, like at the very end. Like they actually did have, they did all out, and then that morning she leaves him and like she takes something.
There's that, but then see, I was wondering if it was a callback to Resident Evil 4 as well, because it's technically night going into morning, depending on who you are. Like, it depends what time you look at what as what, whether you're still at night or morning time. I mean, like 3 o'clock is technically the morning, but I'm like 3 o'clock at night, so she's like, are you still mad about that night or something like that? Or I think she just says last time, but last time can insinuate leaving on the island and flying away with the sample.
Pretty sure she said last night.
Did she?
Yeah.
She said last night?
Or that night. Maybe it was that night. I feel like there was a mention of nighttime.
Yeah, she said, are we going to pick up from where we left off that night?
Yeah, there you go.
So there was something happening.
Oh, that was another one. That's right. Right.
It's not her. I don't think she's mentioning the time in RE4, because she's like, when are we going to pick off from where we left off? So there was something already happening.
I also think it's funny how later on, though, when Leon says, you miss me, she's like, in your dreams. She just shuts him down hardcore.
I love that part. Yeah.
Savage.
He's turned down so many good characters, like just keeps chasing after her. It's just like, clearly just not working, pal. Right. Like, even is it the end of Degeneration? Is it I forget the character's name, but like she's stood there in her dress and everything at the end. It's just like, so let's go diving again soon. It's just like, yeah, well, okay. Just like not bothered whatsoever. It's like, come on. You're not going to get a
Bro,
vacation.
no.
You don't get a chance. At least be happy till the next mission or something.
If you can't simp for Ada, just simp for everybody else.
Not Angela. Angela's the worst. I take Ashley. Ashley's better than Angela.
Ashley
Really?
over Angela?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
When she fell in the water with a go off the jet ski, you should have just carried on going and just cracked on and never found her.
He's just like, oh, I took down the leader, but I couldn't find your daughter. Sorry.
Yeah, lost in transit. Sorry, mate.
Oh my god. It's like any package delivered out here, or I'm sorry, as much as I loved being there in Australia, it was rough using their mailing system. Oh my
I
god.
loved Ashley. You guys were mean.
Ashley, she's just too
I
annoying.
liked her when I was first playing the game back in like 2006, I think. I liked Ashley more than I liked Ada.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's savage. I like Ada.
And
Sorry.
then, when like the whole internet age and like, everyone sharing their opinions about how much they hate Ashley, I kind of like rubbed off on me, I guess. And I also started thinking that way. Oh, like Ashley is this just annoying character. She's probably the most hated in the Resident Evil franchise.
In the GameCube version of Resident Evil 4, there is actually a part where you can suplex Ashley into the floor.
Can you really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Empty Head, who comes on our streams, he sent it me on, and I didn't believe him either. I watched it, and it is hilarious. It is like the normal suplex that he does on the enemies, but he just picks Ashley up and just throws her over the head and kills her.
That is absolutely wild. I'm gonna have to look into that, and I'm gonna buy a GameCube just to do that. All right, hey, you know what I gotta bring up before I forget about it? Why do the lickers sound like donkeys, just like chilling, talking to each other? What was up with that? What
especially,
was? Who chose
especially
that?
when they were dying.
Yeah, who chose that sound?
Well, I guess if you think about it, at least like donkeys, especially if you hear them loud enough, they sound like they're in pain when they speak. So I guess maybe they actually did use donkeys as sound, and then I guess just picked up on it. But I mean, it does give the effect, especially when they're fighting the Mr. X's, that they're in extreme pain. And so like that voice, so it's a mix of like, a monstrous, whimper and, just, them being thrown off into the distance. So it has that effect.
What do you got to say about it, SK? I see your hands raised.
I think they should have used Leon's Resident Evil 4 death modes as the liquor.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I would be horrified. I would be traumatized. Those sounds have left me scarred.
That was the best voice acting in the whole franchise. What do you mean?
It was just, as a kid, it was terrifying to play that part. I was so traumatized from that game. I loved it so much, but I was so young that like my dad would let me play the games, but I just couldn't bring myself to like complete them because like I felt like if I died in the game, I was gonna die in real life. The way that Leon like screamed in pain and Claire in that game, we talked about it in our one podcast, it just sits with me so wrong. Like it's just like something about it just sounds agonizing, and it's what's made me terrified to be eaten alive by zombies. Like if there's running zombies, I'm just killing myself. I'm not getting eaten alive by them, and I can't outrun them, so it's game over for me.
Something that sticks with me, like on the same lines as that, when you died in Resident Evil 2, like they have the whole thing of where you see the zombies on top of you eating you in like a dark room. Because I'd seen that at a young age, it actually made me scared to sleep on my back.
Yeah,
and it's just something I've never done. Like,
yeah, dude, I sleep on my chest too. Because I feel vulnerable, dude.
Yeah, feel vulnerable. Like I can't sleep on my back, but because of that, when I used to see it all the time, I used to think like I used to bite him, and like he was just lay there, not moving, not defending himself. If I tried to sleep on my back when I was a kid, I was like, I can't do this. Like it just went through me every time. So, and I think it's just something that's always stuck with me.
I feel that man. Like that's down to my spiritual core that I understand that, bro. I see you got your hand raised, SK. Go for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, since we're speaking about like what we're terrified of, I remember I back in like 2006, 2007, I had like a heater, And when I would turn it on, it would make the exact same noise as those regenerators would do, like, you know, that breathing noise. And every time I would turn on the heater, I'd be terrified because I would be like, oh my gosh, that just sounds like a regenerator. Am I gonna die?
That's horrifying, and I would not want to experience that ever in my life.
Yeah, I hated that. That was not pleasant.
I feel that, though. It's like these moments leave us scarred. Like Resident Evil has just done our heads in. But that just goes to show how good the old stuff is. That's why I'm so sad with how things went. But I don't know. These movies were good. One thing that we didn't mention that we had at the very beginning of the chat was even how high quality this one was. As much as it wasn't all of the like things that we hoped with enemies, this did have a very high quality like resolution to it and everything. Like the graphic textures were great. As we were pointing out, the details with like the weapons and everything, that was all phenomenal. Great lighting effects and shadows. It was all really good. And you mentioned before, go ahead and explain a little bit why too. This is your favorite Leon.
Oh, I mean, I just thought he was beautiful and handsome. I'm just kidding. I thought like the hair movement was beautiful, and the like not just his, like in general, the hair flew way better. Compared to Degeneration, it was kind of like stuck there. It wouldn't move. Like facial expressions too, it wasn't just one expression. Like Leon was smiling, he was like saying things, he was moving his eyebrows and expressing like different emotions.
Yeah.
Whereas in Degeneration, he was just like an emo boy.
Yeah, he looked
an emo stick figure, and he wasn't moving.
I think he's got too much of an emo look for me. I always remember him like the best Leon is Resident Evil 2 Leon. You know, from like the little picture that's in the item screen, that's the original Leon for me. In like
red hair though?
Yeah, he just made him too emo-y, gothic. You know, it doesn't sit.
Well, that was the thing. His hair was brown in that picture. It was just like I don't know why. For the CGI stuff, they made it like the brown looks orange, but you can see his hair is like actually more of like a dirty blonde, light brownish, in like his little mini Resident Evil 2 photo. And I agree. That's how I remember Leon as well.
I'm sure I read it somewhere that they based like that image of it, why it's like that, off DiCaprio. I'm sure I've read it somewhere.
I heard about that as well, because that was like sometimes something came out with him that was huge. I don't think that was the Titanic that came out then, but it was something after that, and he was just big, so they modeled him as like the ideal like, you know, American like figure to go for.
Yeah, I've not just heard it then. Like I said, that one is out there, but I think that's what that little that's the picture in the top left in Resident Evil 2 is how I've always remembered him.
I can accept that. Yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio's my boy.
Resident Evil 2 Leon, like the original Resident Evil 2, just reminds me, like, he looks like he belongs in Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty freaking much.
I think that's what they were going for, too.
Which one is your guys' favorite Leon when it comes down to it, either Dan or Houdi-n-i?
I'll be honest, in terms of look, I'm gonna kind of agree with SK that Damnation and the movie he did look pretty damn good. Not gonna lie, ain't gay, but he does kind of look nice. But but I'm kind of the same in terms of like the Leon that when someone mentions Leon, I always think of the 1 and 2. Like that's the one I think of, like in my brain.
Okay.
I don't know if I have a favorite, but 2 is the one that I like think about with Leon.
I love the 4, like the sassiness of 4. I love that. I love Sassy Leon. Yeah, I love Sassy Leon when he was telling Ashley, like, "Oh, I know you'd be fine if you landed on your butt," like, you know.
Yeah,
like, I don't care.
That's why he's good in Damnation more so than Degeneration. In Degeneration, he was just kind of like rude, and it was very unlike Leon.
Exactly.
His moments of... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, so Rookie Leon, like I said, in Resident Evil 2, and even the remake of 2, I thought remake of 2 captured it quite well, because I think I've always preferred the rookie version of Leon, rather than the whole, as soon as he turned into an agent, like I said, he kind of got the sass about him.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Whereas that's probably something that stirs me away from him being like one of my... I know he's probably a lot of people's favourite character in Resident Evil. Like personally, like my favourite character was always Chris, because he was more kind of become a legend.
Ooh.
People knew about him, like, or what he'd been through. Personally, I think he's been through the most shit, more than Leon. I always have the same argument with one of my friends because his favourite character is Leon.
Okay.
But
You know what? We're gonna have to have a session where we just discuss your Chris love right there, because that's interesting. We don't know too many people whose favorite is Chris, so
I know someone.
Love to have that convo.
Yeah.
We should include that guy who had an argument with you on Facebook.
Oh yeah, dude, let's go get
We should
that.
invite him. Like, he got his ass kicked by the Russian government. Of course, Chris is better.
Oh my god.
Oh my god,
dude.
bro.
His excuses were so wild. Oh man, I can't even believe he got into like a few arguments with people with the same reasons, and like it was wild. I can't even get into it. I'm gonna rage quit. I didn't say my favorite Leon, I guess. So I know it's Friday right now for me, but I guess my man crush Monday Leon would have to be, I don't know. It would either be Damnation or 6. Damnation, he's a little cleaner. I guess in 6 he just has a little bit more of that rugged look going on. Like, he just looks like he's been through the shits, and he's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm here to up. Like, I'm tired. I want to go on vacation. I'm done with this.
Alcoholism. That's when it started for him in Damnation.
I'm sorry for my potty mouth there. I just got so into the Leon vibe. Like, I felt his spirit in me there. I just embodied Leon. I just felt his anger and frustration. He's just so done with it, you know? Umbrella, go for it. I see you got your hand raised. I'm sorry. I was just full Leon mode there.
No, it's fine. I've just seen it because it was on one of the notes. It was about, people think about Leon being an alcoholic.
Yeah.
You know, so at the end of Damnation, like, sat there and there's a bottle of Grey Goose on the table and he's just like nicking and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been around, hasn't it? Like, these rumors about him being alcoholic. I mean, I think they tried to readdress it in the remake, but like the original story of it was that's the reason he was late to Raccoon City on his first day, because
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, so apparently that he had an argument, he broke up with his girlfriend, and he went out drinking, got absolutely slaughtered, and like he woke up like, it was like, oh no, I've not been into work, like I can't do work, and then he just like, right, I'll go to work, and you know, it ended up saving his life because he wasn't there during like Resident Evil 3 time.
Dude, if he did that hungover though, I'm mad impressed. Resident Evil 2 with a hangover. SK, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, Umbrella, I did not know. Like, I knew he originally broke up with his girlfriend before Re2, and that's why he was late to work the other day. But I didn't realize he drank his way to lateness. But I was about to say, what I was going to say about like his alcoholism and why people think he has alcoholism. He's an alcoholic because in Re Vendetta, which, you know, it's the next movie, but he literally could not stop drinking. And like, what was it, Rebecca or Chris who like freaking...
Yeah, like, Chris comes and slaps the hell out of him.
He slaps him off. It kind of like gave me Resident Evil 5 peers coming to take Chris out of that bar flashbacks, and Chris is doing it to Leon now.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's just so many different things with Leon's character that change throughout the movies. It gets hard to feel like we get to know him truly by the end of it. But honestly, it's crazy because I feel like I'm somebody who knows like most of the little Resident Evil secrets because I just love Resident Evil so much. I like dug into the history so much growing up, like as the games were coming out. It wasn't until about 5 that I started like not following it as much, but I never knew that about Leon supposedly, like with his story, or if that's like true or whatever. Like I didn't even know that was a thing. I'd never heard that mentioned before, that Leon got broken up with beforehand, and that makes me so sad boy for him.
Yeah, so I listened to quite a few things, you know, based around like yourself, you know, reading into different things, and it was I can't actually remember where I've seen it, but that's they tried to cross the bridge with, let's say, the original and the remake. Like, I'm sure I can't remember which order it is. One of them mentions about him splitting up with his girlfriend, but then there's about him like actually being drunk. That's why he's late, because there's actually no explanation, is there, in any other games?
Dude, is that why he's always crashing his vehicles? Is because he's just hammered all the time?
Possibly.
That's it, dude. Oh man, no wonder it's so difficult.
Have his license.
I think Leon's just wasted all the time. This is true. This makes sense. Dude, imagine him going through 4 just hammered. He's got a little flask with him the whole time.
I think they've got him clean. Like literally, as soon as he got clean, he develops like sassiness.
Yeah, right.
Like that's as soon as he's sober, he's like, I have a sense of humor.
I didn't have my breakfast today, so I'm gonna have my Jack Daniels instead.
Dude,
brushing his teeth with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude, he's turning into Kesha. Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Wake up
god.
in the morning feeling, oh my god.
Oh god, don't do it. Don't do it.
He feels like Pete.
You're
P.
cursing
Diddy,
us. You're just cursing the podcast. You're pulling Kesha right now. What's happening? No,
I used to be one of the
yeah,
biggest, like,
Kesha.
I was a big fan of Kesha.
No, that was a slapping song. I can't even deny it. I popped that in high school a few times while I was, driving around.
I thought you said you popped Kesha then. I was like, whoa, wait.
Oh no! Oh no, man! I'm not on that level of fame. I don't pull ladies like that in my life.
Well, Leon's a Kesha fan, confirmed though.
Oh my god. This all explains why Leon simped so hard over Ada though. He was sad boy broken up with. He was on that rebound and now he's just man. It's all the dots are just connecting. It makes sense.
He should have always ended up with Claire. I always thought that right from the beginning. It's just like, why have they not done this? It's like
super babies.
It was there. They could have just had that, like the amount of times, like she still knew him as friends in Veronica, just like, can contact Leon from here, still the first person to go to or whatnot. And it's just like, why they never ended up like that.
All right, we're starting a new game show thing on our podcast. Who's that ship? So Dan and Houdi-n-i, we need to know who's that ship? Who do you guys ship in the Resident Evil universe? Give us your answers now.
The only way to get my Tumblr engaged in this is to talk about the ships.
Yeah, we need the ships.
They don't care otherwise.
Oh my god.
Well, okay, I need a little bit of backstory. I'm lost. I don't know what ship high intro. I mean,
so what a ship is essentially just two characters like you think like you have like a love interest kind of like you think they
want
should
to do
together.
the dirty.
Yeah, who two characters from Resident Evil, who do you want them to, essentially go at it?
Oh, sheesh.
Don't
Houdi,
say that.
you go ahead. You go ahead and start off first.
I'll go first. Okay.
Well, how about let's start with who do you ship Leon with, because he's simped for every possible female
I was gonna say Leon is definitely in there. No, I'm gonna be a basic bitch and just say Ada.
Wow, kick him.
You've been voted off the island, and we don't even have all the votes in yet, man. That's rough. No, it's okay. I feel you though. I feel bad that he like has been chasing for so long and he has not snagged it. Like there's
just too much there. Like throughout the series, there's just too much there. Like kind of not. It is. Like it's kind of a crime that you kind of just don't think, even if it's not the main ship we think about, but just not thinking about it at all.
Like they're a broken chemistry table. Like they've got chemistry, but like all the bottles broke, so all the chemicals are like on the table. And I figure at this point, like something would have exploded by now, but instead it's just like they're liquids that keep repelling each other rather than mixing. It's terrible.
It's just extreme cock teasing by Ada. That's all it is.
What do you gotta say, SK? I see your hands up.
I was gonna talk about the fact that it's sad, but I've read somewhere that I don't know if it's canon, but I've read somewhere that Leon is intentionally single because he doesn't want to drag anyone into his lifestyle, knowing he could die any day. So I feel like Ada suits that kind of style, because yes, he's chasing her. She's never gonna say yes to him. She's never gonna like settle down in a way and be in a relationship.
She can also fend for herself too, though.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't have to worry about like her getting like attacked out of nowhere or something.
That's true. So what do you think, Dan?
Well, to add to that, I feel like it's like rule number one of like entertainment, right? You can't have the lead female or hot female get with the lead male or hot male. It's like when you think about X-Files or the TV show Cheers, like those two characters, once you get them together, like people lose interest. So to keep that interest alive, you just keep them chasing after each other or whatever. But I don't know. My knowledge for RE is a little removed. So But you know who did impress me in this movie was the president, right? So you've got her talking with Ada, and I mean, this part like really turned me on when she was able to keep toe with Ada. Like I was like, oh, this is hot. She didn't like just keep toe with her. Like she was a little bit above her. Like in my sense, if they were to actually have it out, it felt like the president was going to win that fight. So that was really interesting to see.
So you're saying you ship Ada and the Russian president?
Yes.
Don't we all?
I like that. I like that ship. That's good. That might be the best answer I've heard about Resident Evil shipping yet.
Nothing hands down is beating Chris and Jill. That's a partnership that could have gone anywhere. Like I said, they literally
So you want to know something funny about that? I actually am petty and salty against Chris, and the reason I stopped liking him from a younger age was because Jill was one of my first crushes as a kid, and I didn't like that they had chemistry, so I hated Chris.
I
was a small sad boy, okay? I was just a little dude, and I was like, oh, she's pretty, because I remember you see the ID things, and like I saw Jill's character, I was like, oh wow, she's so pretty. And then there's like the opening video, and like they're running in the woods, and I'm like, oh, she's a pretty actress, and like I like Jill. That was like one of my first crushes ever. I think that might actually literally be my first crush as a childhood, was that Jill lady.
I think that's mine. I used to watch the cast video like all the time. Like I literally just used to put the cast video and say like, no, let's play this again.
Right? They were so cool. Like they all looked epic, man. I would have loved to see a movie with that original cast. That Barry dude, he was a like beast, man. Like I could have seen that guy in a movie just kicking ass.
I think it's the American version as well. It's just like it's Chris with the lighter and the cigarette as well. I can't remember which one. I think it's banned off the Japanese one. I think it's the American version. Like you said, he's just staring at the camera in the UK version. But the American one is like chilled out, cig in his mouth, flicks the lighter. I thought, there we go. That's
SK, do you have your hand up? I'm sorry, I can't tell if that's an old one or a new one.
Yeah. So I was going to talk about Umbrella specifically. So you mentioned how you like Leon the most with Claire, right?
Yeah.
And then you said your favorite ship is Chris and Jill. So I think in one of our previous podcasts, I don't remember which episode it was, but we did talk about Jill's room in the Resident Evil 3 remake.
I may have done, but it's not fresh in my mind, no.
Not fresh. Okay, so we were talking about how in Jill's room, she had a few like female model like bikini pictures up on her wall, and it was like more than the male ones. So Taicho and I were like kind of speculating whether she's like a lesbian or bisexual,
if they're leaving it open. Because she kind of turns down Carlos, and then like the posters that she has up in her wall are more provocative towards women, so it leaves it a little bit more open for interpretation of what could be going on.
And it doesn't really make sense to me why her and Chris are not together already. Really?
You know what? I never actually thought of that like that before. Like I said, Jill is one of my favourite characters, so probably actually second to Chris. But thinking about it, that would actually suit Jill's character, thinking about it, because she is like literally badass, isn't she? Like I said, nothing gets in her way whatsoever. Like she's not distracted by anything. It is kind of like not being interested in men is probably like the right way to go about it, type of thing, because like nothing else gets in the way of what she does. But then because it's the video games, it's only like The Last of Us that started doing it with like gay relationships within games. So maybe, like I said, it's something they could build on in the future, making a Resident Evil character gay.
Because I could see it too with like her rolling her eyes more towards like, cocky men. Because like, look at how she responds to Carlos. It's not that like her answer isn't even more like, oh, that's not the type of men I'm into. It's just kind of open, as in like you can interpret it a few ways. Like, oh, she's scoffing because he doesn't know what she's really about or what. But like, I could see that why her and Chris aren't together but are so close is because, as much as I hate to admit it, the guy who's stealing my lady love, he's more humble. He is a very humble, badass character. So like I could see her respecting him because he's a strong male, but he's not like, oh, look at me, Mr. Macho, what are you doing later, Jill? Let's go get a drink. You know what I mean? So
what if she's seen him punch a boulder? Would that change your mind?
I don't know. Maybe. Maybe she'll be switching teams after that. That one made me a little disappointed. I was like, oh, Chris, you gotta put the roids down, man.
I think if Capcom do decide to make like someone like part of the LGBT community, I think it would make more sense if it's either Rebecca or Claire, personally. Because Claire kind of like has that stereotypical, like her hair is always in a ponytail, she rides a motorcycle, and she wears a leather jacket, so I think she would be more suited for
I
that.
can see it. Her demeanor.
I mean, maybe the same for what you mentioned about Jill and Chris, like not ended up together, or even Leon and Claire. Maybe it's the whole case of, you know, they become essentially best friends because of what they've been through together, so you don't kind of like, you don't ruin what you have with your best friend type of thing. So maybe they do, but they just never really go further than that.
It's possible, but I know we talked about in one of the podcasts how she kind of like, you never see that tension though. Actually, we talked about in the same podcast as the one with Jill's room. With Claire, like there's just not that tension with him ever. You know what I mean? Like even with Ada, it happens kind of quickly, but with them, there's just, I don't know. There's that instant. Maybe they're just more focused on survival because they're in a survival moment. I guess maybe that could be what dominated it. I see SK's got her hand up, so I'm going to go ahead and let you jump in on that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Leon has literally simped for every single female character in the Resident Evil franchise except for Claire. So I feel like that says something about Claire, that she's just like, he's not trying to cross that line if she really isn't interested in men, but we don't know that. We don't have that information.
I think Beardo pointed it out on one of my last streams. It's just every time if Claire spoke to Leon, it was over the radio, and she was just kind of giving him shit and demanding. So maybe he was just switched off like straight away. It's just like, why are you talking to me in like this type of situation? It's like every time, just like kind of giving him beef over the radio. So it's
She just ignores him. Like he'll like call out for something important, and then she just says what she's gonna do, and then just totally ignores the rest of what Leon says.
Yeah, like even in the end of Degeneration, after Angela asked Leon to go diving with him again, and then once they leave Angela, Claire kind of like playfully says to Leon, "When did you two go diving?" And I feel like it wasn't like jealous at all. It was like coming from like a very like friendship.
But then there's interest there, and it says more importantly, what are you up to? But it's like that was only in that film. Like you said, that was never implied.
But
in like any other part.
There's phone numbers though, so they've been talking. So I think they would have gotten together by now if they were chatting. You know, I mean,
I would like that. I think they've both gone through enough. They could like settle down, but I don't know.
I think so too.
Yeah,
possibly. Yeah.
You know what? They need to make the final Resident Evil game. It's just not even a horror game. It's just a massive dating sim, and you have to see who ends up together the best.
Tumblr would love that shit.
Oh my god, dude. Multiple endings, just all sorts of different, relationship duos. It'd be great.
Just probably going back to Degeneration, sorry. I know before you mentioned the Mr. X. Like, did you prefer them in the games, or did you prefer them like in these films?
Dude, so actually, I really liked them in the film. I was actually saying while we were watching the movie the other day, that I did not like them in the new remake. I don't like how his skin looks like a thumbprint or like a fingerprint. Like, I don't know what it is. He's wrinkly. It's weird. I don't know. It's not that it like skeeves me out, but it skeeves me out. I don't know. It's weird. He looks weird. It makes me not intimidated by him. To be honest, the only time I get intimidated by him is when he gets to the point where like half of his jaw is hanging off, and it's just because he looks like pure aggression. SKS, you got your hand up?
Yeah. Visually, I would honestly say the Resident Evil 2 Mr. X is better, just because like this guy in Damnation looked like he's been using face masks for the past like 3 months. Like his skin is clear, and he doesn't have like a slight like wrinkle or anything, He was beautiful.
Okay.
He was very beautiful. Yeah, and
I'd rather get murdered by a beautiful giant than an ugly giant.
I know.
Fair enough.
But, yeah. Other than like visual, I would say even like action wise, I would say I enjoyed the chase feeling from Resident Evil 2 rather than this guy just like going around trying to kill Leon and Buddy.
I could vibe that. How about you, Dan or Houdi-n-i? How are you feeling on that?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not. So, well, it was definitely cool that there was actually multiple Mr. X's, and I think everyone kind of like if you read the lore that yeah, there's multiple of them. I kind of preferred 1 and 2, where it's just one continuous like one that's chasing you down, but it's not always on you. Like you have a boss fight with him, you're done. A few moments later, oh wait, he's back up. Like, I thought that was more cool rather than in a movie where they're continuously chasing you until they're dead. Like that seemed a bit much, at least in my opinion.
Okay, I can see that. I can see how you feel that way. How about you, Dan? What are you thinking?
So first impression was scary. Second one was this is Hellraiser on steroids.
I can see that.
And it was his second form, absolutely terrifying, right? When he's charging full speed at you. So he's just like an indiscriminate, like killer, like destroy. So that was like raw power, you know. So that was fun. It was fun to watch, absolutely.
Yeah, he gets the big claws going on. He can just absolutely shred.
Mm-hmm. But there was like more intelligence there than I thought there would be when they're pointing the tank at his head. He was swerving left to right. He knew that this was going to end him, and he didn't want that to happen. So, yeah,
he's a pretty smart killing machine for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that part too. And Leon was like, "Oh, come on, don't be shy."
Oh yeah, right. Oh man, sassy Leon with his like little jokes as he's murking giant BOWs.
Yeah. Come on, Gibson. You can't say you didn't enjoy the Leon sassiness in this movie, though. I know you prefer the Ritu Leon with like no sassiness at all, but I feel like it adds to his character a little bit.
Rookie Leon would be disappointed if he could look back and think that, just like he'd look forward and just be like, "Wow, I'm actually turning into a bit of a dick."
Yeah.
The other one that I would add is, I see it was on the notes. Will Leon get his vacation? If he does, where would he go?
Yeah, right. Where would he go?
China.
Oh my god.
For Ada.
Bahamas.
For my vacation, it's just in my room, just chilling. That's the vacation. That's a vacation.
Maybe in Ada's room.
Just don't want to worry about anything. Just chilling, enjoying life. That's a vacation.
Fair enough. Yeah. And how much were you thinking Leon would go on vacation to?
I feel Bahamas, like beach, like drinks that are like green or purple, just chilling with pineapples on them. Like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He needs them for sure after all the nonsense he's been through, and plus we know he's an alcoholic, so he needs drink service.
There you go. Yeah. Well, it's understandably too, like with the shit he's been through.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's why I would say his perfect holiday would just be stick him in a steel crate and bury it underground so we can get no phone signal, just sit there, peace and quiet, no one can monitor him, just let the guy fucking chill out. No, I mean, every time the guy's relaxing, it's just like, oh, new assignment, like this and that, like, just no phones, just like, get on there, no signal, that's it.
He does tend to hang up on people, like he hung up on Hunnigan for no reason. That was kind of rude.
And that's his boss.
They keep asking him for work. He just can't say no. It's just like, nah, let someone else do it. Let Chris do it.
All right, so I know we got to it abruptly, so let's just give our quick summary so Dan can go ahead and get off here. What was everybody's final feeling on Damnation overall? Give it a quick rating out of 10 stars, or out of the ratings for Resident Evil even. You want to go E to S?
All right, I guess I'll start here. I would personally give it a 9 out of 10. I know it might seem a little high, but it's definitely, I like that better than Degeneration. Like, I think it's better by miles. Like, it's not even, there's no comparison between the two, in my opinion.
Okay.
I liked seeing Leon again. I didn't really necessarily like Buddy, as I mentioned before, like that whole vengeance storyline. I feel like we got it with Curtis Miller in Degeneration, so it was kind of like repetitive, and it didn't really add anything new storyline wise. I did like JD. I thought he was playful. He was funny. I know you guys didn't, you weren't the biggest fans of him, but I liked him better than Buddy.
Okay.
And I would say, I mean, I know someone mentioned I think it was Umbrella. You mentioned how you thought Buddy was going to be someone else, and you were hoping that they were going to bring in more characters from the previous Resident Evil games, just because it is specifically targeted for the fans of the games.
Umbrella, go ahead and go for your part. You can go ahead and get to her on that question too.
Yeah, so it's that was part of my summary. Really, I said I think I would give it a 7 out of 10, which would say is a B rank, Resident Evil B rank. Out of the animation films, it's the one I don't like. It's not my favourite out of the three. It's probably the worst one out of the three. I still like it as a film. It's solid. The animation's great. It's got a lot of throwbacks for fans. Not enough characters, I would say. Like I said, it's only really the two. They could have done with a few more characters.
Okay.
The action is really good. Like, they put the lickers back in there. They enjoyed that. Like I said, they make them a lot bigger, a lot scarier than what they should be, really. More action than horror. That's probably what I always is a con with Resident Evil films or games. When they make it more action, it takes it away from its roots. But overall, like I said, like 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I could never give it lower than 5 because it's Resident Evil. Maybe if it wasn't called Resident Evil, it'd probably be a lot lower. But yeah.
What would you give to Degeneration? Because you said you enjoyed it more than Damnation?
Degeneration, I would say, is, I think because it was the first one of how they changed it, that's what made me love it so much. And I think the action and like the whole, like the way it was shot was probably a lot better. The whole thing with the plane coming through the airport and like the whole, so it was like they have a survival situation. They were stuck in somewhere that was overrun and they had to get out, and it had the whole like facility fight at the end, which felt like the proper ending to a Resident Evil. You always have a facility or a lab at the end where there's a big boss fight, and I think Degeneration captured that. Whereas, Damnation was more, a big massive battle in an open place, which is not really Resident Evil. So I would rate, let's say, Degeneration over it, say maybe a 8 out of 10.
Okay. How about you, Dan? What are you thinking?
So overall, I think I'm going to go with the B minus, so maybe like a 6 or 6.5. So again, I'm a little bit removed from Resident Evil, but so I went into this movie thinking, I know it's an action horror movie. I want to be entertained. I want it to deliver in those fields. And for me, it actually started off kind of slow. There was peaks of action or horror, but then it just went back to being calm and cool. And so I would say, in general, it fell short, but there were moments in the movie where the action or horror just like peaked through the roof, and those were really enjoyable moments, like when the President and Ada fought, when the tyrants came out, when the tyrants turned into their second form. All that stuff was really really fun to watch. I wanted to be able to sit on my couch and watch an RE movie and forget that I'm watching a movie. Just get pulled into the action, right, and the adventure.
Okay.
But because of Leon's like one-liners, the part where that soldier couldn't stand up, there was a part when where Leon was on the ladder and he held out his hand, and Buddy was like, do I grab his hand or do I just watch the elevator and fall to my death?
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, like what's happening here? And
I'm glad you brought that up. That was a moment we missed.
There's a metal ladder right in front of me. Why didn't you just grab the ladder? Anyways,
he could climb from the start for sure. Exactly.
Yeah. So, and then at the end there, and maybe I missed it, but there was 2 tyrants charging full speed at a guy, 2 guys walking down the street. Like, how did they get away? What happened here? What did I miss?
There was the 2 A-10 American airplanes came in overhead and shredded them with their...
Okay, so I did miss it. Okay, I missed that part. But yeah, again, so it was... definitely, if someone's out there wanting to watch an action horror movie, like there's going to be moments where you're going to say, wow, that was really cool to watch. So yeah, solid 6.5.
Okay. How about for you, Houdini?
I'm gonna give my final rating a good 7. Like, I'm kind of with Dan in terms of like it has, but yeah, for what it is, it's definitely really good. My only complaint is that I feel like they could have probably given like a little bit more on the horror side, just every so often. But other than that, like The action scenes that it did have, the fight scenes that it did have were really good. But yeah, there were these really cheesy moments, like again, the elevator, like, dude, there's two tyrants, like, in there, you're about to fall to your damn death. Grab the ladder.
Yeah.
Stop looking back at Leon, then down at your feet. Leon, down at your feet.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, overall, like, it was still, like, it still had the vibes of Resident Evil, so it did, in terms of, like, a Resident Evil, like, movie, it delivered for me. So yeah, definitely, like, a good 7.
Fair enough. For me, I give it about 8.5. I think it was an all-around solid movie. Some of the other points I'll mention really quick that we didn't get to that make it stand out to me. For example, when he is reloading the ammunition towards the very end into the magazines to be ready for, like, these final fights, that was incredibly realistic. I thought that was awesome. I thought it was cool how he mentioned the line, "I didn't expect to be saved by BOWs." That was definitely a twist for Resident Evil for sure, especially for Leon. I did think it was a little weird that they missed points, like, you know, having the Russians speaking to each other and then they're still speaking in English. I'm just kind of like, all right, that's a little bit lame of an oversight. I get it's a movie, you know, that you're going to be having a lot of English speakers watching, but it's not like there's that many Russian to Russian interactions that I feel like it would turn people off that much. So, I don't know. I thought that was a little weird. Other than that, I thought it was great to see Leon being his usual badass self. I did like how his character looked better in this one, better development. Didn't like the enemies, but they didn't have those Plagas enemies in there as much. It was mostly lickers and real people fighting, so I kind of accepted that for what it was. The tunnel chase scenes were cool. Locations were pretty cool, some recycling, but overall, I just think it was a great movie. It looked great. It felt great. Interesting combat. I just wish there were zombies instead of Plagas type enemies. But other than that, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good movie.
Rotten Tomato gave it 100%. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was gonna mention the fact that I hated Ada's outfit. She's always wearing red, and now she's wearing like this skirt thing, a jacket.
She had a bit of red to her.
I know, but it wasn't like Ada Wong red, you know, like she needs that red dress or like red shirt like in Re 6 or, you know.
It's not based around clone Ada, is it? Out of Resident Evil 6.
No,
it's
not
Adas
about
in Resident
Carla.
Evil 6, wasn't there?
Yeah, Carla.
Yeah. There's maybe a little twist there or something like that. No, it's not actually Ada.
I think that they need to kind of sum up some of those stories, honestly. We're at the point we need to know what's going on. Especially with Ada falling out at the end there with 6 and being cloned and all that. I need to know what's going on with her.
I feel like she's too deep. She needs to like figure out what's going on.
True. But anyways, that was a good movie. I think we all agree that we did enjoy it. Overall as a film, it was pretty solid. And yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to our next retalk. We'll have to have a longer one next time when we have some more time, but I know we worked hard to get this session together, and I appreciate that you all did take the time to make it out for this. We will have everybody's links in here for you to check out too. Give them all a view on their channels. They're great. It's been a blast having you guys on here, and we're looking forward to future content with you.
Yeah,
thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks very much. It's nice meeting you all as well. If anybody
Same.
does use Twitch, I will auto-host you if you want to check out Twitch channel. It's just Umbrella Gibson. I'll also auto-host you as well. Even give you a follow. I'll see it in the bottom of the description. I'll feel free to follow you all or whatever channels you have: YouTube, Instagram.
I'll give SK my Twitter, and she can, you guys can make that up.
And Umbrella did just hit his affiliate as well, so congratulations to that.
Yes,
3 days in on that. So.
Nice. Congrats.
There you go, man.
Guys. Thank you very much.
Props to you, man. Congratulations on that. So we're excited to see what your journey holds for you while we've been watching SK's as well, and thank you for supporting her while you have too. And hopefully I'm hitting there next, so we'll see what's going on with that. But
you got this.
Yeah.
You're
I've just got to say what an amazing achievement it is, SK, for all them Division 1 titles in pro clubs.
Yeah.
That is some achievement.
you know what's funny? So we won the 40th one, which is like a big deal. And then, like, on the same day, we got relegated to the lower division, which is hilarious.
What?
And then we partied too hard. We partied too hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
much food.
We're back up there though.
Okay.
I played with a couple of friends, and like, just there's only like 4 of us at most, and I think the highest we've been to is Division 6, and then we just get slapped about, and it's just like, oh, come on. But wow, what an achievement! So well done for that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you again, everybody. This has been so much fun, and we look forward to next time. But that will be all for today. Thank you again for stopping by, and have a good one.
You too, folks.
Yep,
Later.
Thank you.
Thank you.